I think that these are important things to think about, and I think that sometimes a lot of people. I'm just going to say it. There are. I think, and I've not met very many GMs like this, but I've talked to players who have said that they've had GMs like this. A lot of GMs will they'll love the idea of running a game. They love the creative idea of running a game. They'll love the idea of making money running games or whatever. But then when the rubber hits the road, they're canceling sessions. They can't cope with the hard work, with the expectations. This is not a professional level, and this is an amateur thing. So if you want to be pro, level up, get better, be better. I don't know what to say. Hello friends, welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. I am the GM Philosopher. I am a full-time professional D&D game master and TTRPG content creator. I've been running games for over 24 years, and I'm super glad that you are here. Today we're talking about, should game masters take time off of running games? Should they take breaks? Should they cancel sessions, etc.? This is a question that was posed in the GM Philosophy Discord earlier this week, which, by the way, if you want to join us, we're over 600 Game Masters strong. Links in the description. It is free. Jump in there with us. I'm posting every day in there. Different people are having conversations in there. It's great. Lots of great stuff going on. And if you want to get plugged into the community, that's the place to go. Now, someone posted this question, as a GM, should you take time off? Should you not? What is everyone's approach to this? And I'm going to share my 2 cents on this because I think it's an important issue. So in my mind, there is a big distinction, first of all, between friends and family D&D and pro D&D in some senses. And this question actually factors into that. So I want to discuss it. Now, friends and family D&D is what I call free D&D, where you get together with your friends, your family, you're getting together on Sunday nights, Saturday nights at your house, and you're playing fun D&D, or you're going to the local game store and playing a game for fun. You're running a game. There's really there's no business transaction here. It's just friends getting together, having a good time, right? It's beer and pretzels gaming kind of fits into this. Even more serious casual games fit into this, okay? In other words, it's not really, there's no business in it. It is strictly a friends and family game of D&D. Now, pro D&D is different. Pro D&D, there is a business component to it. There's a service component and a community component to it. When someone pays for access to a D&D table, it's sort of like paying for access to a country club, okay? The reason people would pay to play D&D on Start Playing or any other platform is because maybe they don't have a game master available. They don't have a game available locally at that time. Maybe they don't know anyone who's playing D&D. Maybe none of their friends play D&D. Maybe they work weird hours, and so they need to find a game at a very specific time that works for them. Maybe they want to be more serious about it, and they are tired of kind of the less professional, less serious games that they have available locally. They want to dive in, get a little more serious, play with people who are a level more serious. There are many reasons why someone might want to play a pro game, but I will say that the expectations should be different between friends and family and pro games. And I'm going to kind of discuss that. Now, first of all, if you're a professional game master who wants to create a decent, side hustle with your GM craft, or maybe you even want to start a business that will eventually become your full-time gig. I actually wrote a book called The Paid GM's Guidebook. This book basically details the steps that I took, the lessons I learned that got me from 0 pro games at the beginning of January to filling 5 pro games by April, and basically going from 0% pro GM to side hustle and then to full time. Now, I also do other things, not just pro GMing, but with my system that I've developed, I'm 100% sure that I could fill 20 games if I wanted. I choose to fill 5 because I also work on YouTube. But if you would like to grab that book, links in the description. It's available for about the price of 2 cups of coffee, and it'll help you grow your GM business. Now, that being said, let's talk for just a minute about the difference of expectations between these 2 types of game masters. First, let's talk about friends and family D&D. What is the goal of friends and family D&D? It's to get together and enjoy playing D&D together, okay? Or whatever TTRPG you're playing. It could be anything. That's the goal, okay? In friends and family D&D, I don't think there should be so much pressure on the game master to show up without ever taking a break, because it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a fun game. Now, as a game master, if you want your friends and family game to be the best it can be, if you want it to be very consistent, if you want your players to be really excited about the game, if you want to increase their energy levels, if you want to increase creativity, then it's in your best interest to run it very consistently and to not take days off. Consistency is a key to success when running games because it helps keep energy high. It helps keep everyone engaged, and it eliminates downtime between sessions. The more downtime you have between sessions, the more likely it is that people are going to either lose interest, lose energy, kind of like the excitement's going to die out, and that's not good for your game. A really good game is going to have a lot of energy injected into it, and a lot of times energy can be created in a number of different ways. The game master can inject energy by creating exciting moments that really hit people in the emotions, like get them emotionally bought in. By the way, I've also written a book about this, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery. This book is all about how game masters can create emotional buy-in, emotional resonance, get the players actually emotionally energized about the game. I've been running games for over 24 years, and I would say that this is probably the strongest thing that I've learned that I bring to the gaming world. And if you want to grab that book, it's also in the description for about the price of a cup of coffee. You can grab that, learn how I create emotional buy-in in my games. But the more emotional buy-in, the more energy investment you can get your players to want to give, the better your game is going to be. Like, that's one of the factors that makes a great game. Consistency acts like a multiplier. If you have great consistency, it's going to multiply all of the energy that's already going into your game. If you lack consistency, it's going to take away from the available energy you have. So even if you have a great group of players, it's probably going to be less energetic if you do not stay consistent. Now, consistent could mean weekly. This could mean, for some groups, even twice or 3 times a week. For some groups, this might mean every other week. For some groups, honestly, I've talked to some game masters who their big thing is maybe once or twice a year, they'll run a full day session for their friends. Now, consistency means different things to different people, and it depends on the expectations of the group. But consistency is a fantastic way to keep energy high. Lack of consistency is a great way to get people to start thinking like, is this really worth it? Maybe I should play video games instead, or maybe I'd rather play Magic the Gathering, or whatever, right? Maybe I'd rather join a more consistent game, okay? Now, with that being said, there is work-life balance to take into account. If you are running games, no one's going to deny this. It's a lot of work. It's taxing. It's very creative. You might run into situations where you are running games and you're just feeling like, man, I'm not feeling creative this weekend. In a friends and family game, should you cancel if you just don't feel like it? Well, here's the thing. I will be honest with you. In my experience running friends and family D&D, which I've been doing for over 24 years, I will say this. Consistency was always very important to me. I never really canceled game sessions unless I absolutely had to. Like, what they say, like the wedding and funeral clause. Like, unless you have a wedding or a funeral to go to, no rescheduling. And that's basically how I ran D&D. And I will say this. I have a long history of very successful games that have a lot of energy built up in them. And one common complaint I've heard from gamers across the board is, well, GM I used to play with, they would cancel all the time. This would be true of the friends and family and the pro players that I've had in my games. Okay, so with that being said, I personally have been of the mind where if I'm going to be playing D&D, I'm going to make it a consistent thing and I'm not going to cancel it unless I absolutely have no choice. Okay. Now, with that being said, it is a friends and family game. It's free. It's not your job. It's supposed to be fun for you too. If you absolutely do not feel like running a game that night, even though you planned on it, I don't think there's anything wrong with you canceling it. I don't think this makes you a bad person. I mean, what are you going to lose? Your game may lose momentum. Your players may lose emotional buy-in a little bit, but this is a cost-benefit analysis that you need to do. If you think to yourself, I would be purely miserable running this game tonight, I'm not feeling it, I don't want to do it, then maybe you shouldn't do it, right? However, a really great comment was brought up in the Discord about this. I believe it was L. Perkins who said this. If you are experiencing a lot of burnout trying to run D&D, it may be possible you have a problem, an issue with the way you're going about it. Because game masters should be able to run games in a consistent way that does not tax them so much that they're constantly burnt out. If you're constantly burning out, then it's possible that you are facing some kind of prep issue, or you're over investing, or your energy isn't being returned to you well enough for you to feel like it's worth it, right? The actual meaning of the word burnout as it relates to like a creative endeavor or even a business endeavor is this: when you do vast amounts of work for something, but you don't really see any returns on your effort. That's when we get burnt out. As a general rule, when we put effort in something and we see the results we were expecting or wanted from it, we don't get burnt out. We get rewarded, and then we want to keep doing that thing, right? So keep that in mind about burnout, right? You're not a bad person if you need to cancel a game because you're not feeling it in a friends and family context. This doesn't make you a bad person. This probably will impact your games just a little bit, but that's okay, right? You're here to have fun. You're here to game, and if it's just probably not going to be a decision that's going to like wreck your life. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. That's only going to add to burnout, right? So I want to kind of give you peace of mind to say you should do what's good for you. You should really do what's good for you. Now let's cross over into the pro GM space. Let me talk about this just a little bit. Okay, so first of all, we're talking about a business here, right? And whenever you're running a business, it is in your best interest to be consistent. Now, there are a lot of aspects to TTRPGs that you cannot control. You cannot control, for example, what players are going to do. You cannot control, for example, like all of the external factors that could impact your game. You cannot always control what the dice are going to do. You cannot even always control how creative you feel on a certain day, but you have 100% control over your consistency. So in business, one thing that is incredibly exciting is to have a deciding variable that you have complete control over. Why would you ever want to let go of control of a variable that you can control fully? Consistency is one of the most fundamental controllable variables tied to business success. In other words, even if you are a mediocre GM, even if you're, have an intermediate level of experience, even if you're just like very middle of the line as far as creativity goes, there's nothing crazy special. You're just doing your best, running the best games you can. Consistency actually may be the difference between your business succeeding and not succeeding. Because here's the thing. Players care a lot about consistency. Players care a lot about the GM showing up on time every time so that they can plan on it and they can schedule by it. Okay. A pro GM who does not maintain a consistent game schedule is far less likely to succeed than a GM who does. Okay. So consistency is a massive variable to success. Should you avoid canceling game sessions if you're a pro GM? Yes. Yes, 1,000,000%. If you care at all about your business's success, you should really never cancel a game. You should prioritize your games the same way that you would prioritize showing up for work at a job you care about and you don't want to lose. Imagine how many people will go to work, not feeling like it. I mean, a lot of people go to work every day and they don't ever feel like going to work. Why do they do it? Because they know they'll lose their job if they don't, right? It's a very real, tangible thing. But why? It's because there's like a boss leaning over their shoulder a lot of times, telling them, you're late, or why didn't you come into work? They know they're going to have to answer to that. So there's like an accountability factored in there that self-employed people, they kind of have to create for themselves. And pro GMs sometimes will make this mistake of thinking, this is just like my friends and family game. I can cancel if I need to. In fact, I should get to. This is supposed to be fun for me too. If I don't feel like it, I should cancel. Friends, that's not the way creative businesses work. Creative businesses work for the people who show up to be creative, whether they feel like it or not. Just like great employees who show up on time at work whenever they feel like it, or even when they don't feel like it. Those employees tend to get the promotions and they succeed more at work, right? If you're in a job that rewards, that kind of thing. When you're running games, you need to think about it in terms of being a business. And I'm going to be very honest with you. The truth is that if you are not in it to win it so much that you're going to show up, do like the barest minimum part and try your best, even when you don't feel like it. The truth is the life of entrepreneurialism, being a solopreneur, having a pro GM business, it probably isn't for you. If you think to yourself, I just don't want to have to show up and run the game if I don't feel like it. If that's how you feel about being a pro GM, I'm going to tell you right now, like it's not all roses and sunshine out here. There are times I've shown up to game sessions with a blanket on, with a fever. We're running the game anyway. There have been times when I've been sleep deprived and I'm like, we're running the game anyway. There have been times when I was running the game and the whole time I just felt like, I do not feel creative. I feel creatively flat. I have no creative energy at all. The moments are grading by. I do not feel like I'm doing a good job. And I showed up anyway. I stuck with it. I did my very best to deliver a great game for my players. And guess what? A lot of times I've noticed players don't even seem to notice, because showing up is such a powerful first measure. Showing up and feeling and acting excited. Like, well, even if you don't feel excited, acting like it and saying, hey, everyone, happy Wednesday. I'm so pumped for the session tonight. Here's where we're left off, right? Even if you're not feeling like it, if you put that energy in, 9 times out of 10, first of all, even if I'm not feeling like it, when I start putting in that energy and I start interacting with my awesome players, I start to feel like it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I showed up. I'm actually enjoying myself. But even at the times when, like, for example, I'm physically sick and I just like don't feel good, maybe I'll take a couple more breaks than usual. I might, instead of taking one bathroom break in the middle of the session, I might take one at the like a third of the way in, and then another 2/3 of the way in, and be like, hey guys, I'm going to hit the quick pause button. And so I'll go grab my Dayquil. I'll pop my Dayquil. I will, blow my nose. I'll just sit with my head down for a moment, rest my eyes for a minute from the fatigue of looking at the screens. But then I get up and I get back to it, right? So we need to have this professional, kind of more stoic approach if we want to run a business. Now, are the work ethic police going to come knocking at your door and arrest you if you cancel a session with your pro GM? No. Is canceling a session just because you don't feel like it going to ruin your whole pro GM business? Probably not. But habitually doing this on a regular basis, is that going to hurt your business? Probably. Because I don't know if you noticed, but there's becoming more and more competition out there. More and more games are being run by pro GMs. There are more and more games getting posted on Start Playing all the time. It seems to me like more and more players who are serious about the game are thinking about pro games, because they may not want the beer and pretzels experience at Cousin Vinny's house. They may not want to just go to the local game store where half the session is the dudes sitting around talking about Magic the Gathering instead of playing the game. You know what I'm saying? They may want a more intentional game experience, and that's what pro GMs can deliver. And so, but being a pro means being a pro. It means I'm going to be there come hell or high water. I'm going to expect my players to be there. And even when my players aren't there, I'm messaging them, hey, are you coming to the session today? Like, I'm not trying to pressure them, but I am very serious about the game. I'm very serious about us gathering together for this community. I'm very serious about everyone showing up, having a great time. I do a bunch of work in advance. I'm ready. And I want players to show up ready too, because I want to have a great game experience. And I want to help them do that in whatever way I can. And there's a certain point to where I expect them to also behave professionally in those games, because we are just in an environment that is leveled up in terms of taking it seriously, having our heads in the game, basically trying to participate at a higher level, right? So this is all stuff that I think about and I think is very important to succeeding. So long story short, should you take a break if you're a pro GM? Across the board, I think that your games are universally going to be better if you are consistent. However, in a friends and family game, I understand it way more if a GM needs to take time off. However, with a pro game, I see it as being a much less acceptable for the GM to take a day off, especially if they want their business to succeed. Now, with that being said, what if you build it in? What if, I could see this. What if I built into my whole thing, like, okay, guys, here's the deal with me. I run games every week, but I'm going to let you know, I take every 8th session off. So we'll play 7 sessions, have 1 off. Play 7 sessions, play 1 off. That's how I do it. That is the gig. It's always going to be that way with me. Boom. Now, I have no issue with that. If GMs want to schedule in their sessions, if they want to schedule those things in, I don't have an issue with that, right? Making that a part of their program, making it a part of their scheduling, because then you're being upfront about it. That's sort of like factoring in vacation time to your staffing, right? Businesses that don't factor in vacationing, but then they want to allow for vacations, they're not being professional. They're not factoring in all those variables. But so in the same way, businesses that do factor that in, they're getting ahead of the game and they're being proactive and professional about their scheduling. GMs could be the same way. They could get ahead of the game, realize, I'm going to need 1 weekend out of every 2 months, or I'm going to need 1 weekend out of every 6 months, or whatever it is, I'm going to need that off. So I'm going to talk to my players about that ahead of time. And when they sign up for the games, they're signing up understanding that. This is the responsible way to do it. Now, It's also responsible to tell players, you know what, guys, I'm just letting you know in the future, there might be times when I'll need to schedule a game off. And here are the reasons. I may schedule games off if I'm sick. I may schedule games off if I have a funeral to go to. I may schedule games off if I have to, show up for jury duty, right? If you kind of describe these things ahead of time and kind of let them know what to expect, it's like, but if I do, I will give you 2 weeks notice. I'll let you know, blah, 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 right? This is a much more professional way to handle it. So anyway, those are my thoughts about that. That's what I think. I think that these are important things to think about. And I think that sometimes a lot of people, I'm just going to say it, I think, and I've not met very many GMs like this, but I've talked to players who have said that they've had GMs like this. A lot of GMs they'll love the idea of running a game. They love the creative idea of running a game. They'll love the idea of making money running games or whatever. But then when the rubber hits the road, they're canceling sessions. They can't cope with the hard work, with the expectations. This is not a professional level. And this is an amateur thing. So if you want to be pro, level up, get better, be better. I don't know what to say. If you're not, your games are going to suffer and your business is going to suffer. Boom, there are my thoughts about that. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy. Empowering game masters to run better games is the goal. Roll some D100s for me at your next game, friends, and I will see you on the next one.